What's going on, guys? Welcome to another episode of review for Nier Automata. This is episode 15 and 16. With me, as always, I have Blue Spade.
hmm So now, well, we're obviously reached the point of one of the biggest scenes in from the game, which
Yeah.
honestly, before this, like I thought they were gonna pull like a major swerve like they did with with the whole Adam and Eve stuff in the first core, but
hmm
apparently they're following through like how the game went, which I mean I mean I think it's necessary that they follow through with the original planned storyline rather than just like throwing like I don't know like a major swerve and trying to I don't know
Well,
explain it.
I mean, if you think about it too, I mean, 9S has died multiple times as well. So I mean, it would. I mean, if I don't know, like I don't think there would be much point if they did something like that, where it was like, oh, this is like he is, I guess, in a way, like permanently dead in this.
Yeah. Okay. So yeah, let's get to that
Yeah.
just out of the way. Like, two B does end up dying by the end of episode 16. From A2, and of course, 9S is of course like he's understandably grieving for over her death because she can't be brought back at this point due to the Yorha station being completely destroyed thanks to
Yeah.
the logic virus. Um, but the overall the overall two episodes played out exactly how I thought it was going to be. With like the prior episode, I think was episode 14 when we reviewed it, was under 9S's perspective, in which he's helping out the resistance fight off against the machines, but of course the logic virus um ended up screwing things up. So now
hmm
the episode switches perspectives to 2B battling the machines, and of course, getting to the point where all the androids get infected with a logic virus, and they go crazy, and then attack 2B all of a sudden. What I didn't see coming is like that the virus gets transferred through mouth contact the way that it did to 2B.
Yeah, I thought that was definitely different. But yeah, like this part was pretty disturbing in the game, and I mean, it's just as disturbing in the anime when it happens, and all of the other androids are infected by the logic virus and just start going crazy. Um, and yeah, so yeah, 2B is of course trying to fight them off, and she does end up getting, the virus ends up getting transferred to her. Um, and yeah, I think this around.
I
Well,
think
also like we also pick up with what happened with 9S, where one of the other scanner units it was infected by the logic virus, and he, ends up trying to kill him. And but of course he gets away.
Yeah. So eventually 2B and 9S end up reuniting together just to try to fight off whatever androids and machines are left. But of course, with all of them surrounded with so many infected androids and the machines, they have no choice but to, yeah, I guess, to upload themselves back into the bunker, which they do by by touching each other's
Black box.
black boxes together. So they eventually go back to the bunker, and this scene actually plays out somewhat differently from the game, because in the game, like we see, like the bunker is still like fine and functional, but in the anime, it looks like things have already like went bad by the time 9S and 2B got back to the bunker.
Yeah, and you just see the commander is like, I guess, unconscious on the floor.
Yeah, and of course they're all surrounded by all the other infected androids, and then of course they encounter, of course, Operator 60,
hmm
which which made her even more creepy in this scene than how they portrayed it in the game, because like yeah, like she like almost like us, like almost like you're watching a horror film
Yeah,
looking at this.
yeah, it definitely reminded me of that. Um, but yeah, so they, of course, the 2B and 9S tried, well, with the commander, like try to escape from the base as it's just being destroyed. Um, and it is revealed, of course, the commander is also infected by the logic virus, because everybody and pretty much all the androids that are infected with the logic virus, with like the exception of 9S, um, which is revealed as because he had I think it's because he said he'd hacked into the servers, or something, and that's like why he something about that, like, and that's why he doesn't.
I think he it was mentioned in the prior episode that 9S being the only one spared from the logic virus because he neglected to sync his data
Oh
with the
right,
bunker.
yeah. So because he's not synced with the system, but yeah, of course, like the commander tells him to go or to escape. As it's revealed she's infected with it. They both get away. And it's the Yorha base is destroyed. And it pretty much plays out pretty much almost exactly how it does in the game. Because this is pretty much the start of like the second half of the game, in the original game.
Hmm. Yeah, so it's nice that they like almost shot for shot like recreate like the scene from the game itself.
Yeah.
So yeah, so 2B and 9S end up descending back to Earth, but of course they're ambushed by a squadron of infected androids, attacking them before 2B tries to separate 9S from herself by using herself as a decoy. But eventually 9S flies back to her to save her. But of course, they end up getting shot down, back to the surface. While of course they end up getting separated.
They get
and
like caught up
9S
in an explosion because the other androids use their black boxes to try to to self-destruct and try to kill them.
Yeah, yeah. So 9S is trapped in the desert, being surrounded by two like worm-like machines, and while 2B is of course like trying to run away from the other androids, to the point where like where the virus is progressively getting worse, in her system.
Yeah.
So eventually, like she gets to the point where,
Well,
like,
also
the virus.
one of her arms had been had been cut off, and she's only can only use one arm to fight.
Yeah, I don't think she lost her left arm in the game though. I think this is kind of an anime original
Yeah, I
thing.
don't really remember that. Of course, I remember that she was infected with the virus. I mean, this is kind of how it happens in the game, that the virus is rapidly progressing through her system, and she just has to get to a certain point. And that's kind of how it plays out in the anime too. But except in the anime, it also shows what 9S is up to, and it also like shows these sequences where like 2B and 9S were interacting, and also showing all the times, I guess, that 2B actually had to kill 9S, and that she had started to develop feelings, essentially like develop feelings for him, but she had felt conflicted about it because androids aren't really supposed to harbor any kind of emotions. So she was like wondering why she, I guess, felt that way about him. But she said she's regretted how many times basically that she had to kill him. And then meanwhile, like we get 9S talking, kind of like in a way like expressing sort of like a fondness for 2B, and that he had the whole time kind of like admired her. So obviously you get this impression that he felt very strongly about her as well.
Yeah, eventually, like, not 9S eventually, with his hacking abilities, dispatches those two worm-like machines attacking him, and he immediately just tries to rush over to 2B, but of course 2B's infection just reaches a critical level, to the point where she's ambushed by two more infected androids, before A2 ends up saving her at the last second.
Yeah. And of course by that point she's pretty much about to be completely taken over by the logic virus, and she asks A2 to like pretty much just to essentially to kill her, but also to like like carry on her memories or something. I don't really I was trying to figure out if this had actually happened in the game, like when A2 makes contact with 2B, like how she like sees her like all, I guess supposedly all her memories. I don't remember that.
I think, yeah, it never really happened in the game. This is the first time the anime really actually shows this, when A2 makes contact with his sword, and then she just gets flashes of 2B's memories.
Yeah, because obviously,
So-
like we know that and it plays out this way in the game too, where she cuts her hair to kind of look like 2B, and she does the same thing here. So it made me like wonder if she in a way was like trying to sort of like be as a like sort of like a fill-in a way for 2B, I guess.
I mean, A2 is technically like the same
Well,
Android
yeah,
model
like
to
yeah,
B, but yeah. So like once 9S arrives, he sees A2, killing 2B, and of course, like he misunderstands the situation, not knowing that like 2B wanted A2 to kill her. So he eventually uh, gets into a mental breakdown and swears to take revenge on A2 for killing 2B.
yeah. Um, yeah. So then he falls like the bridge he was running on collapses and he falls down into the abyss below, and then we get like this giant like tower that just gets erected from the ground. Of course we don't really know what that is yet. Of course we figure it out later, but yeah. So that comes up, and that's pretty much how the episode ends. Except like we also get the pod, like kind of how it happens in the game. But in the game at this point, it gives you an option, like pretty much like making you choose who you want to follow throughout the rest of the game, if you wanted to play as A2 or if you want to play as 9S. But the pod here says that like we're going to be following, I guess like essentially we're going to be following A2. So I thought that was interesting because I mean, at least I think most players, I'm not sure about, well, I don't know. I assume at least most people probably played through this part of the rest of the game as 9S, because I mean that's what I did. So I'm wondering like how, like I don't know, because I didn't play any of this part of the game as A2. So I'm wondering like how different it really is, since I guess the anime is supposedly going to be following A2.
Yeah, I could assume that I did play through both A2 and 9S's perspective in the second half, just so I could get the ending E section.
Yeah.
So from what it looks like, yeah, obviously, it looks like we're gonna follow through A2's perspective first before we head back to 9S and under his perspective. But from what I can tell you timeline wise is that A2's perspective takes place before 9S's perspective.
Hmm. Yeah, that's interesting. Yeah, so I mean, it might be a mix of the two. They might shift maybe between A2 and 9S's perspective.
Yeah, and also like with to be like he says he's repairing her damaged memories, and of course we only get like a brief glimpse of like A2's past when she was still like when she was still like a Yorha android at the time. So it looks like I'm hoping we get more flashback episodes like we did back in the first season, in which if we remember, like we saw that flashback sequence with A2 originally with several other androids during the whole Pearl Harbor incident.
Yeah. Yeah, but I thought these were pretty good episodes. I mean, it was interesting. So like the changes weren't as big as we were maybe expecting them to be. I mean, we were kind of expecting something major to happen here, but it kind of follows the game, except, it had some interesting little changes here and there that were different. But yeah, aside from that, it wasn't anything like really huge. But yeah, I thought I don't really have too much else to say about them, though. I don't know if you have anything else to say.
Yeah, I'm still. I think this is like one of the best video game adaptation anime series that I've seen.
Yeah.
Like I think next, I would say somewhat next to Cyberpunk Edge Runners, although Edge Runners is technically more of a
Edge Runners is more like its own thing.
Yeah. While for for Nier Automata for this adaptation, I think it like they do a good job like mixing in some, well they do take some liberties with some certain scenes by throwing in some original stuff here and there, but I think it's like overall like the faithfulness is like on par with the game itself.
Yeah.
Considering the fact that Yoko Taro's working on the anime.
Yeah, I was about to say it's probably due to Taro's direct involvement that it's so close in a lot of ways to the original game, but has some interesting alterations.
Hmm.
But yeah, guys. So that all being said, until next time, we will see you all later.